another episode of Art Matters. This is our June episode, and we have some very great guests here. I'm very impressed with these people. Actually, I've known for quite some time, so I'm moderately impressed, maybe. Anyhow, before we get started talking about some of their interesting projects they're doing, I'd like to make a few announcements about some upcoming productions in the Springfield community. On June 21st, running through 21st through the 30th at the Springfield Art Museum, we have a production of the Dixie Swing Club from the Springfield Contemporary Theater producing that. They're still looking for a space, but luckily they have found that the art museum really seems to work quite well for a lot of their productions. And the art museum is really up for creating and producing more theatrical productions there in that area. If you don't know where the Springfield Art Museum is, it's on the corner of National and Brookside and Bennett, where diagonally across from the old Mexican villa. And I'm so pleased that they're interested in doing some performing art things over there. And we'll be talking about some of the projects you guys are going to be doing, I guess, over there as well. Also, the Landers Theater, Springfield Little Theater, is doing a great show, Legally Blonde. You may have seen the movie. This is the theatrical version. It opens on June 7th and runs through the 23rd. They're on Walnut Street. And also, the Springfield Contemporary Theater on August 23rd is doing a new production of a Mark Twain play. I guess it was discovered. I had never heard this play. It's called Is He Dead? And it's a very funny script from when I saw the synopsis, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Again, it opens August 23rd and runs through September 7th. And that also is at the Springfield Art Museum. So I hope you'll come see those productions, as well as some of the other wonderful things that also happen over here at the Creamery. I always like to tell everybody that the Creamery, the Springfield Regional Arts Council, was very nice, along with the Missouri Film Alliance. They let us use their editing bay. Have some nice acoustics in here, so we really appreciate that very much. We had an interesting experience this last May. We did a talent contest, and it went very well. We had a lot of fun. We're going to try to do another one of those, aren't we, Kevin?
Yes, I think so.
I think it was a blast. It was nice to have some new people come in. And then I just closed a little opera workshop that people were very pleased with. We were very pleasantly surprised. I don't remember Irma's last name, but Irma, who's associated with the Springfield Regional Opera, was hoping we might do some more operas over there. And I'm all for that as well. So, also, before I introduce our guests, I have a co-guest with me. Tim Pylan couldn't be with us. I'm not sure. He never told me why. It was probably romance. He has a new girlfriend, but
she's gonna kill you.
I don't blame him. So she's a lovely lady, and I'm sure she deserves all the attention he gives her and a little bit more. But I don't even know if that's the reason he's not here. I'm just guessing. But to suffice it to say, we have another quite intelligent co-star with me, Kevin Keppies, stepping in for Tim today. Yes. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
And we're going to talk to some of the Muttley crew doing some productions here in Springfield coming up. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce Meg Rice and Bryant Turnage. They're working on a very interesting outdoor production. Is that correct?
That is.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, we're going to do that at the Art Museum theater they have out there in the back, their stage. It's wonderful they're letting us use it. It's a great spot, and it's going to be Romeo and Juliet in the park.
It's great for classics because you've got that marble steps and the pillars.
The two sets of pillars.
It really works really well.
And the audience is going to be right up close because they have the concrete that comes down off the stairs. So there's a beautiful acting space right there, right at the foot of the grass.
You have to thank me a little bit because years ago I was supposed to produce a production of Midsummer Night's Dream. And it's a long story why it did go up, but
I saw that production. Yeah, it was a good production.
Was it? It was. I will say it was my concept, but yeah, we won't go there. Anyhow, because of that, they actually put some electricity there on the poles for us. So now you have electricity. So you can thank me at a later date.
We'll send you the bill. This is George's electricity.
So what's the concept? Who's directing?
I am.
Oh, you're
They decided to give me a chance with this. Actually, I know, silly them. It's
My decision.
well, yours, Dave, Nathan. See, everybody. It's all
It was mine.
well, the concept. I've always looked at the play, and I don't ever believe it's a love story. I don't. I'm sorry, ladies, gentlemen. It's not. But I was outside one day watching some people walk around with their cell phones and not paying attention to where they're going, and I thought, that's pretty interesting metaphor for relationships in general. So the concept I'm going with and looking at Romeo and Juliet is really about social and emotional disconnect and just a lack of personal responsibility. If you look at the characters in it, everybody's so focused on themselves.
What do you expect from what when she's 14?
14, yeah.
I mean, gosh, I guess that works. In what environment, what historical are you going to do?
Contemporary.
Contemporary. Oh, everybody going to walk around with cell phones and texting?
I thought about that because it is very much a part of our culture, as is love, romance, heartbreak, all of it, and showing exactly how it works and how it ties in to now. I mean, it is a universal story. Besides the love story, there's so much there. So I'm going to keep it contemporary.
My son could be in it. He's glued to his iPhone.
Hey, have him audition.
Yeah, I may have to.
He can look up from his phone long enough to.
Sorry, folks, you hear that little buzzing. For some reason, we have a little AC unit in here that's making a buzzing sound.
Use your Jedi mind powers, Nathan.
Yeah, really.
One more to the
Anyhow, just so you
It's
know,
just the
I hate to ignore it, but I don't think it's too distracting until I mention it, maybe. Anyhow, well, tell us some more. Who else is involved in the production?
It is being produced jointly through Rice Theatricals and Arcane Productions. So Dave and Meg Rice and Nathan Shelton are producing it.
And Actors Theater Missouri.
And Actors Theater Missouri.
Oh.
Co-producer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we have quite a very talented group of people throwing their support behind this, and I am thrilled to be a part of it and have been asked to direct it.
The nice thing about Romeo and Juliet is the story, no matter how you interpret it, is fairly universal.
She'll argue with me about the love story, but it's a love story.
Nevertheless, it's universal, and also, as much as I am not necessarily a Shakespeare scholar, but this will be my 7th summer Shakespeare show. It has more of a broad appeal, besides the fact that people know it in all its contemporary versions, West Side Story and this, that, and the other. They understand the love story, or
lust story, as David puts it.
yes. And it also has a broader range of female characters than a lot of the Shakespeare shows do.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And it has a broader range of age than a lot of the Shakespeare shows do. So we'll be able to incorporate a lot of the community into it, a broad range of performers. And as in other Shakespeare shows, women can play men's parts, or men can occasionally play women's parts, like they always did when they were written. So, George, I bet you look great in a dress.
I've done that. Yeah, I was in a play. Oh, I forget my name, but I did wear a dress. Yes, but I was
Just around the house, though. Right?
I was a long-haired hippie thing, and for some reason, I was doing this found art thing where I had to wear a dress. It's a long story. It wasn't a very good play, in my opinion.
We got time, George. Come on.
Sometimes you're desperate for a role. I was really desperate at the time.
One thing we are going to work with when we audition, and I specifically requested Bryant of Bryant. We're doing the auditions here at the Creamery, but I want to do them outside. I've been involved in several outdoor Shakespeare things, and one of the notorious problems we have in working outside is the sound. You pick up the wind, you pick up the audience sprinkling papers, you pick up any backstage noises. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. You pick that up. So we don't want to use mics if we can avoid it. So we're going to be doing the auditions outside to see how people can project.
Mm-hmm. Another reason I want them right there in the audience too.
No.
Just so they get that whole, this is happening. The audience is very much a part of it.
What are you doing? Have you had any idea what you're doing with set and the like? Are you bringing a set and moving it in, or?
No, the stage itself is just so perfect in a sense. There are really 8 natural acting spaces there if you get down to it. The only thing I'm going to bring in are probably some acting blocks just to break up the symmetry, maybe a bench and some chairs.
It always crosses my mind when I heard you were doing it there, but what about the balcony scene there?
The actual stage is raised by about 3.5, 4 feet.
Yeah.
So there's a good distance. So there's some height to it. So it's not a balcony, but I'm pretty sure the audience is going to be kind of forgiving. But it's.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, hopefully, knock on wood.
Springfield audiences are usually civil.
Yeah.
Usually.
No balcony.
There are citizens of Verona. There we go.
Yeah.
And as usual for all summer Shakespeare's in the Park, this will be free admission.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So the Art Museum is partnering with us in the use of the space. The Art Museum will also be open those hours, which are unusual for evening hours. And if you haven't had a chance to get to the Springfield Art Museum, do so. It's a gem of fine arts in Springfield that very few people really know about and take advantage of.
Oh, I know they should. I've been there, and it's
wonderful.
Great.
There's so many rooms with so much beautiful stuff in it, and people just don't think, oh, we have an art museum? Yes, we do, and it's fabulous.
And they change it pretty regularly
They
too.
do.
Like,
They were actually
change those
changing it a couple
exhibits.
weeks ago.
Yeah. So every time, like if you go, like a month later, it's gonna be different.
It's a brand new
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, it's great.
And it was recently renovated a few years ago, so there's a contemporary looking space in there, spaces, rather than before where it's changed.
It's huge. It's a pretty good sized museum.
So, what are you going to be doing in the production, Meg?
I'm assistant directing, stage managing, and doing some costume work as needed. Most of the costumes will be contemporary. Part of the joy of working in any outdoor space with any Shakespeare is that you have Shakespeare and it's in outdoors and it's very accessible. Part of the problem is you also have no storage. So we're trying to not have the need to store costumes and lots of props and set pieces. We'll have lighting, of course, because by about 8:30 the audience won't be able to see the actors.
There's one light on out there. Actually, I just drove past.
Good George did provide us with.
There's one light on the right half of the stage,
There
on
is,
the or
security
stage
light.
left, and audience right.
So, but in the past we've been
Where that pole is?
Yeah, it just lights up one whole half of the stage. I mean, bare minimum, there's some light that comes on at night, which is cool because I didn't know that.
Again, there should be a power outlet there.
Oh, there's a power box actually right off. There's a pole, and it's right there.
Oh, great. Let's take a minute. We have a few announcements that we'd like to make. And when we come back, I'd like to talk more about the fact that you're doing what we consider a tragedy. I know lately there's been done a lot of Shakespeare comedies, and I want to get your take on sort of a different flavor of Shakespeare than we've seen around here for a few years. You're with Art Matters with George Kahn and Kevin Kepi at the Springfield Regional Art Council's Creamery, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
This is Art Matters, brought to you by A Class Act Productions with George Cron and Tim Pyland. A Class Act Productions produces the wildly popular parodies of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Star Trek, upstairs at the Canvas at 315 South Avenue, just 1 block south of the square and across the street from Ernie Biggs' Dueling Piano Bar. Every third Saturday of the month, you can see our Star Trek parody at 8 p.m. and Buffy the Vampire Slayer at 10 p.m. Tickets are $5 per show, or see the double feature for $8. For more information, go to A Class Act Productions Facebook page, and while you're there, please be sure to like us.
And we're back. So glad to have you all here. And we were talking about Romeo and Juliet, the fact that, according to Bryant Turnage, the Shakespeare scholar, it is not a love story, but certainly we can say it's a tragedy, can't we?
Oh, very much so.
All right. I know in the last few summers, there's been a lot of comedies done of Shakespeare, outdoor versions. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that correct? Has there been other tragedies done recently?
Yes, actually, last summer we did a combination of tragedy and comedy.
Oh, that's right.
We did Hamlet, which was directed by David Rice. And
was that outdoor?
Yeah, it was at the ice rink. Yeah.
Huh?
I said it was hilarious.
Hamlet was, oh yes, that
Oh, that was a tragedy. I'm sorry.
And
We saw our version then.
we did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which is kind of the other side of the story from Hamlet,
Right.
which is more contemporary comedy by Tom Stoppard.
Oh, I apologize. I had a minor stroke and kind of forgot about it.
It is the only one recently that's been that. I think before
Historically, they've done Much Ado About Nothing.
Tammy the Shrew,
Midsummer
Comedy
Murders,
of Errors.
yeah.
As
So
You Like
As
It,
You Like It.
Twelfth Night.
All of those have been
So, yeah.
comedies.
So how do you feel about working on a tragedy as opposed to a comedy of Shakespeare?
I prefer them.
In what way?
I've always personally felt that the comedies are thinly veiled tragedies, and really all you need is a wedding to make it a comedy. Technically, hey, everybody's something. There's a marriage. There's something that doesn't happen at the end of a comedy that does at a tragedy.
Or twins.
Yeah, or twins, something like that. But the tragedies, I think the Greeks had it right. You really get a part of your soul revealed to you in a tragedy. You see that moment of that could have been me, and that's one of the things I'm going for with this version of Romeo and Juliet. It's brutal. I mean, I don't have swords. I have them beating each other senseless, barehanded, where they literally get their hands dirty. They are gouging eyes. They are pulling hair. They are lost in the madness of just the sheer. No, they're not paying attention. They're just wrapped up in, I've got to do this thing because right now this is the only thing I'm focusing on because I'm so, well, technically selfish. I'm just going to kill you. Oh, wait, there was something else. There were other people involved in my life that I just, for some reason, forgot about. Oh, you're dead. And it's that brutality, that, again, lack of responsibility, that tunnel vision that I see developing, and I see the news stories, and I see this kid beat this kid for no reason, or this thing happened here, this woman did this to her child, or this guy set something on fire because he looked at him wrong. Have we really degenerated that far as a society? And then I want to show that in Romeo and Juliet, yeah, we have.
I just the other day, don't ask me how, really, I truly did just stumble across this YouTube looking for some other things, and I just saw some teenage girls and guys just out in the street just attacking this girl, and it was quite brutal, and it was like one of those feelings like I'm watching this and I shouldn't be watching it, and it was a short video, and I was like, that's so intense. And so
I want to get, one of the images I have is, and I've seen it, where you have Mercutio and Tybalt fighting over something silly, and anybody else just sitting back like with their cell phones out. Isn't this great? This is entertainment. It's that,
yeah.
and it's that, and that speaks to me, and that's what tragedy does. And you can have that in a little bit in comedy, but Shakespeare's tragedies really, if you look for it and you can see it, I mean, you just nail it.
Well, I think comedies pretty much are a social event, whereas, like you said, tragedies are a personal event. And I'm sure there's exception to the rules, but in a comedy, you usually turn to your friend and you're laughing and looking at each other and like, oh, that was funny. And but if a tragedy is really connecting, you tend to just be there with the character, and you don't, you're not talking to other people in the audience or anything. It's a very personal experience. So I like that about tragedies.
Yeah, they're beautiful in their own way. They're just, I think Shakespeare's tragedies are much cleaner, much more telling. His comedies are wonderful, please don't get me wrong, but his tragedies just speak volumes.
This tragedy in particular, I think, is more so than some of his others. Macbeth is sometimes a little hard to understand. I mean, you can get the political nuances of it, but Romeo and Juliet, okay, we can get that. We understand. Two young people think they're in love. They get stupid. Young people not understanding each other. I think Romeo and Juliet as just a show in general is a little more accessible to a lot of people who think Shakespeare. I can't understand that guy.
Well,
I don't want to go see him.
Well, I think this is going to be a great opportunity to see some Shakespeare for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's free, so I think it should be a perfect introduction to a lot of people. If you haven't seen a lot of Shakespeare, this should be a wonderful opportunity. I know all of you, and I know the talent you're going to bring to the production, and the talent around here. I've talked to people who are interested in auditioning and the like, so I'm really excited about what you guys are doing with it. Again, you touched upon this, but a little bit more. Why did you pick Romeo and Juliet in particular?
I did.
You
To a
picked
certain
it.
extent, yes. I have enjoyed Shakespeare. I've enjoyed the shows that I've done. I am by no means a Shakespeare scholar, and I never intended to be a Shakespeare scholar. I never really intended to have that much to do with Shakespeare, ever. And yet, I have costumed 7 of them now, which that's a lot more than a lot of people ever have anything to do with Shakespeare. A lot of the problems I see in Shakespeare, and part of it is when they were written, women could not be on stage. And as much as
It's been downhill since then.
I don't know. Anyway.
Meg's the only girl in the room, and so she's
The only one with any sense.
And George is the only one in a dress, so.
and girls' glasses.
But we had originally thought about doing The Tempest, directed by Nathan Shelton, and he was unable to direct, so we had approached Bryant about doing The Tempest, and Bryant didn't necessarily want to go with Nathan's concept, so we were tossing around other ideas, and I said, well, let's just change the show. And I personally wanted to see a show that had a lot of opportunities for women to audition. Hamlet is great. It's got a couple of decent women's parts in it, and that's it. What?
Nothing. It just sounded wrong.
Well, how many decent women parts are in Romeo and Juliet? Because I think of Juliet, I think is a nurse.
Okay, Juliet, nurse.
Just so you know, this is Nathan Shelton who's chiming in.
Oh, sorry.
Lady Capulet, Lady Montague.
I didn't introduce
Yes.
her.
You could conceivably do the apothecary.
So male roles would then become female roles.
There's various.
Okay.
There's nothing that says they can't.
Yes.
I mean, there are
okay.
a couple. I mean, there's the smaller roles.
Trouser rolls. They can be trouser rolls.
Yeah, but there's nothing. The apothecary isn't referred to as a man, and it doesn't really tie into. I mean, Romeo and his crew. I mean, they're very much their guys. You know, so you have to have that because, man, we've all been there. We've had our buddies. We've had that moment where like, check me out, aren't I something? You know, so they're Romeo, Mercutio. You know, those are the guys. But there's some other roles. Yes, you know, let's open it up. Let's have the women. Let's show what they can do. Let's give them those roles. The prince could be a woman. Hey, why not?
There are a lot of women that say, I'd love to do Shakespeare. And then you start going down the really good roles that are written in Shakespeare. Prospero. Granted, Helen Mirren did it as a woman in the recent film. But King Lear, no, gotta be a guy.
Which is another good show.
Macbeth, gotta be a guy.
Yeah, but
Hamlet, gotta be a guy. So,
yeah, well, and a product of the time, like you were saying.
And
But you do have like Olivia
Mhm.
and from 12th Night.
But you look at a lot of them are in the comedy stuff.
Yeah, you're
A lot of them
right.
in the
Yeah, you're
comedies.
totally right. Yeah,
Which is part of the comedy is having a guy
Mm-hmm.
in a dress. Okay, think about that. Guy in a dress,
Sure.
pretending to be a woman in a dress, pretending to be a guy.
that
And
got
just, yeah,
confusing.
what's from, which one is that? Which one is that? Where he's a,
Pick
Guy in a
one,
dress?
several.
no, it's 12th Night where he's a woman, pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman, pretending to be a man.
Yeah, that's 12th
That's-
It's 12th Night, yeah. I mean, all the jokes just there about cross-dressing alone. You know, so
Yeah.
they're taking the conceit of the time. So yeah, but in the tragedies, they're rare.
Mhm.
I mean, I would love
They
to do
took it
King
very
Lear.
seriously.
Yeah, give me King Lear and give me, the three. Oh yeah, I'm all over that. I'd love to do that one too.
So there are 3.
I'd like to do King Lear.
I'd love to.
I'm getting old enough where I can actually.
I'll play your fool. I always want to play the fool.
Hey, no,
It
I'm
can be
there.
taken a couple of ways.
we should do it.
Yeah, you wear the dress. I'll be the fool. We're good.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. We can keep the message, man.
But that's part of why we picked
So when have you have a date? When does this have a date to open?
Opens July 19th. What?
I think it's the 17th.
No. No,
I'm actually,
Oh,
once
let me
I
go on my
don't think about performance until we get
Hold on.
past
Everybody's
auditions.
fussing.
Let me check out my calendar because it opens that Thursday, which is the 18th. So we are close. So it's a combination of the two. Yeah, it's the weekend, the 18th, 19th, 20th, and the following Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Could you repeat that one more time for us?
17th on the Facebook. July 17th.
Then go with you.
Performance dates are July 17th through the 27th.
There we go.
At the amphitheater at the Springfield Art Museum.
And what is curtain time?
7. We're going to try and get it. That was tentatively right now at 7 because we're going to try and get as much natural daylight out of it as possible, so people don't have to worry about that one George Cron memorial light.
Okay.
But no,
Aren't you? I don't want to be a downer, but I'm a little worried about the sun coming in from
It's
the
not
west.
bad there.
Is it okay?
because of the hill and the. It's
Oh,
pretty,
okay.
pretty nice for a sunset.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
too bad.
Wonderful. Well, I'm looking forward to that. So we have Bryant Turnage, Meg Rice, and actually Nathan's here.
Nathan is one of our producers. Also.
Soon we're going to be seeing a production of Romeo and Juliet. Again, you'll see that at the Springfield Art Museum. I thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you very much.
And surely we'll have another moment of nepotism down the line where we can share ideas. All right. Thanks again for coming. When we come back, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk to Nathan and probably some of the rest of the group here because we're involved in a wonderful webisode. I'm very excited about it. I've read the first 3 episodes called ShadowBound, a horror
Silent horror web series.
Silent horror web series, and it's really cool. So we'll be back shortly. Thank you. This is Kevin Kepi and George Rock with Art Matters. And we're back now with Nathan Shelton, who wrote ShadowBound, and tell us a little bit about ShadowBound and the development of the idea.
Yeah, well, originally I conceived the project as a feature film. I was trying to explore, after years of writing various plays and film scripts and stuff. I was trying to figure a way out to push myself artistically and try to tell a story without dialogue, because I'm a very dialogue heavy writer when I write. And I thought, I would really like to do that. I love horror, the horror genre. Comedies and horror tend to be what I write. And I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. So I thought, I want to make, after a couple of nightmares that I had, I was like, I really want to make something really terrifying where the image and maybe ambient sound and music can invoke such a visceral response from an audience member that they would go around telling people that that is the scariest thing I have ever seen. And I thought, surely we could do that. I mean, David Lynch has come close in some of his things with using, disassociated sound from what the image is actually saying and things like that. So I thought, all right, I'll set out to do this. And I thought, let's make it Lovecraftian, because that's my bent. I love Lovecraft. And so I started working on a feature film, and I highlighted, and I went ahead and pretty much came up with the whole concept, scene per scene, the whole film. That was 2 years ago. And then I thought, after the success of working on Epilogue, the web series, and then some friends of mine doing the Drifter series and things like that, I was like, you know what? What if I did this as a web serial? A series, a mini series, 5 episodes, 6 episodes, something like that. And we could put it down, and first of all, we'll be able to get it done faster because we can put it out in episodic form, so we can shoot it, package it, get it out there, get people interested in it, so that the buzz that follows it leads up to the end. It's not just a one-time thing. It's a whole event. And it's proved very successful. The scripts themselves, it helped me as a writer kind of trim the scripts down, cut the wheat from the chaff kind of thing, and get the bare bones of what the story is. And I've scared myself writing these. Like some of the especially episode 3, which I'm actually getting to direct, that's my episode to direct. But I'm very scared by it. It's a great, very terrifying project. Do you want me to talk about the premise of it, or?
Sure, of course. I mean, I love the characters. The characters are so well developed and with a lot of texture and the like. So I'm very excited.
Well, and see, my style of writing, I like to sit with things for a while. So like I'll come up with a concept and then I'll just sit back for sometimes years and let them. Every once in a while, I'll take a sticky note and put it up. I have a board filled with multiple projects that I've got up there. That some of them I haven't touched in years. Some of them I keep going back to, but this one really spoke to me, and it's about a horror author who comes, and it takes place in an unnamed time period, the late 1920s, early 1930s. I know that's throwing Meg for a loop because she's doing my costumes for it. But
I'm getting a hold of it.
I know I got the best of the best on this, and we really do. We have the best of the best crew and cast. I'm so excited. But really, what happens is this writer comes home because his father, who George Cron plays, his father
not a dress.
Not a dress. His father is a very noted. He's a very prominent horror author for a Weird Tales magazine, something in the city like that, like what Lovecraft did actually. And his father was a detective, and he has been found dead in his home, and you don't know if he is suspected to have committed suicide. So he comes home to take care of the family estate and lay his father to rest, and he finds his brother in an insane asylum. And it's all tied into this last case that his father had worked with these children who were murdered ritualistically by some cult. And he gets drawn deeper and deeper into this world of the occult, and realizing that there's these things that have existed since the dawn of time, before the birth of light. And when light was born, they were pushed into the shadows, and these things called the Hollow Ones are trying to force their way back into our world. And these cultists worship these things and are trying to bring it back. And so he gets involved in this huge conspiracy, is trying to save the world, basically.
Now, are you shooting this in black and white or color?
Black and white. It's black and white. We're actually going to put various filters through it as well, to make it look like it is a 1920s crank camera. So it'll have dropped frames from time to time, which will help with the horror aspect of it. We're shooting all of the creatures in backwards so that they move in a very disjointed and terrifying way. We've got all sorts of old school film tricks. We're trying to do everything in camera as much as we can. We do have a great digital guy that's going to be helping us out, who had worked on Epilogue, that's going to help us with some of the stuff that we can't do in the camera, but being a smaller production. But we're going to make this thing.
Trying to keep as much post-production.
Yeah, we want to keep just the editing, just putting it together, But we've got a great soundtrack that's going to be designed by Bryant in Los Angeles, who does music for Family Guy. He has worked out with me on several of my stage productions. So this is really a kind of a melding together of all of my theater friends and my and colleagues and my film friends and colleagues in the area. And we're trying to do something very unique. And, it's not new. I mean, it's an old form. The silent film is an old form, but it's a great art form that is very powerful. Even to this day, it's just something that a lot of people don't practice, don't do.
Well, I think what you're doing is very challenging and yet very innovative. I remember seeing a preview of The Artist from last
Wonderful
year.
Film, yeah.
And I heard that they were doing a silent film. I'm like, oh, I've seen some modern silent films. And when I saw The Artist, I just saw a couple clips and went, this is the way it's supposed to be done,
yes.
And the vividness of telling the story without dialogue, they did extremely well, and I really liked it. So it's one of what intrigued me about working on this project, because I've never done a silent film, and I think it'd be really fun and really challenging to do. And again, I've read the first 3 episodes, and they're just extremely uncomfortable and
that's good.
Yeah. That's a good thing, folks.
That's good to hear.
You see these, you may have a few nightmares, because very discerning imagery in it. So I'm very excited about working on it.
Yeah, thanks. Kevin Kepi's actually our production manager on this as well, and an associate producer, and he is playing the lead Hollow One. So he's doing all the creature work for us.
Oh, cool.
We've just ordered some contact lenses for him, and we're going to be putting him in
and a dress.
Prosthetic and a dress. He'll be wearing massive prosthetics, lots of prosthetics and stuff, lots of makeup. But
As
it's
we're
really gonna pay
talking,
off.
all this is going to go by and have a little caption saying, "I'm not really wearing it."
Yeah. Yes.
And yet
Yeah.
I have a lot of dresses that
Yeah.
fit you.
Marlon Brando wore a muumuu the whole, last few years of his
Well, don't
life.
get me started on muumuus. Don't get me started on muumuus. I think everybody should wear muumuus. Great big flowing muumuus. I'm against belts. I wear them, but I think they're killing us. I think they're cutting off circulation, and we all should be wearing muumuus. But that's for another podcast. Let's move on.
Okay. I will happily move on from the
How does one follow that?
conversation.
How about a sarong?
Yeah.
How do you feel about
Should I
sarong?
wear a muumuu in this webisode? No.
We've been very lucky too to have,
That's
Springfield's a
wonderful.
great city to shoot this in because it still has a lot of its, there's still a lot of buildings that were from the
Historical
20s,
buildings,
historical
yeah.
buildings, and we're slowly but surely nabbing location time in those places. We've been going around. It's been a lot of meetings, a lot of phone conversations, and emails back and forth. I just got another location today that I'm very, very excited about. It'll, having these locations will make or break the project. And we've got them, and we've got a great costumer. Meg is going to be doing all of our costumes. So finding the right look and feel for these people to make it feel like a lived-in world, not somebody trying to mimic a 1920s movie, but almost as if this was a lost 1920s series that was found almost.
You mentioned H.P. Lovecraft as
Yes.
a mentor or a
Inspiration.
inspiration. So tell us a little bit about your connection with Lovecraft and why.
You're a cultist, aren't you?
Yeah, I am secretly, I worship Cthulhu. No, yeah.
It took me weeks just to learn how to spell
Yeah.
Cthulhu.
Yeah, nobody knows truly how to pronounce it. No, my dad was a Lovecraft fan, and so I grew up, on horror movies because I'm that guy. But when I grew up hearing about Lovecraft and how it affected my dad, and so when I got old enough, I started reading, and people are drawn to Lovecraft, who is known as the grandfather of modern horror for various reasons. Some people love Lovecraft because he's very sci-fi, because cosmic horror, things came from the stars, ancient things, and they love that aspect. I'm a horror buff, not more, than a science fiction buff, and so I appreciate the aspect of the things that Lovecraft was truly terrified of, that he was experimenting with, which is loneliness, insanity, and the pursuit of knowledge being fundamentally wrong. That we as people, should be wary of where we tread and what we are trying to uncover, because some things there's meant to be a mystery. Some things we're not meant to know, and by uncovering them, you are uncovering horrible secrets that will drive you mad and could possibly destroy the world that we know.
And not to sound too fatalist or anything, but seriously, there's some discoveries that we're making nowadays, and with the genetics and mutations and things that
Lovecraft would have freaked
you know,
today.
it-
We
it-
could
Color
tell.
out of space, radiation
Yep.
sickness.
Yep.
I wonder if there's some scientist somewhere hidden away who's mutating elephants and dolphins, or and creating these creatures. I just wonder how long it's going to take for somebody to be doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Lovecraft's main thing was that there's these entities that lived on and around the earth long before man, and for whatever reason, cataclysmic events, ancient wars, they've all gone back into their various places of slumber, rest, or they're lying dead in tombs waiting to come back to life or reawaken. Cthulhu, down underneath the ocean in Relier, his city under there, when the stars are in alignment, will come back, but yet these things, they're so powerful that they still move mankind, and they move us through our thoughts and our dreams, because it can still affect us. And I think that is, Lovecraft's horror was all about piecing together disassociated knowledge, things that were never meant to be put together, but when you actually look at it, you form the greater picture of what's really going on. It's kind of conspiracy theory, Illuminati kind of stuff, but there's also a personal level of horror there too, and understanding just how insignificant in this massive, terrifying universe we are. And I find that truly terrifying, and something about it.
As a child, death wasn't something that would intrigue me so much, but insanity.
Mhm.
I always,
Oh.
when I was a kid, I was like, what is it like to go crazy? And
Yeah.
I try to imagine what that would be like.
You wear muumuus a lot.
Well, that's another.
Black
I agree with you.
moon.
I do. I agree with you, because insanity. That Lovecraft explores that insanity is really just opening the mind to what's really going on. But when everybody else isn't perceiving what the truth of the reality is, therefore you are labeled as insane, but you're the only one that knows. Everybody that knows what's really going on, everybody else is shut off from you. So what if something were to change everybody's the dominant perception of reality? Yeah, if that happened, would we all be then insane to the people who didn't? That's the kind of questions that Lovecraft poses. And when you are declared insane, when you have no longer control over what you're seeing or hearing or anything like that, how can you do anything to help yourself or to help anybody else? Because nobody will believe you. Get locked away in a madhouse. That's one of the things that I am exploring with ShadowBound. Is the main character, when it opens up, is in an insane asylum, and we're going back in time to see his story on how he got there, and then inevitably find out what happens to him, just like it has happened to his brother. And
So when you get this shot, and when do you think about what's your plan for release? As far as
we're going to release it episodic, it's not going to be one big bang. What we're wanting to do is we're shooting the first 3 episodes this summer, so June, July, and August, episodes 1, 2, and 3. The first episode will be editing on that while we're shooting in July for episode 2. So we'll hopefully have episode 1 done and posted by the end of July, episode 2 posted by the end of August. And then episode 3 posted sometime in September. And then we're going to be coming, I'm going to be moving to Chicago in September, but I'm going to be coming back quite frequently, and we're going to be shooting the last 2 episodes sometime in the fall. And the last 2 episodes will be pretty much shot together, boom, boom, and then get those out there. Then we'll be sending them on festival circuits and all over the world. We're going to try to get them any and every festival, all Lovecraft festivals, horror festivals, but there's a lot of web content out there right now. It's a huge, growing medium, and it's exciting because people are doing some pretty fantastic things on the internet right now.
Can I ask a business question? I'm
Yes.
a little ignorant on this end.
Sure.
As far as investing and putting money into a project like
Mhm.
this, from a business standpoint, how is it that you get money back if it's not going to a theater where people buy tickets and things? How is it?
Sure.
How do you?
It's the same kind of thing as a distribution with film, from what I understand, because this whole thing as a package series can be easily put onto DVD, packaged, and sold. It can also be put onto different distributors that have web content can get them and use them for their own, like buy up the property from us and decide to put it on their own compilations or whatever they want. As far as I understand it, though, because I'm new to this business too, like that, I'm the creative aspect of the production. I'm working with American Wasteland Entertainment, who are the producers of the piece, and they are much more adept at this is what they do, is our web series, and so they know a little bit more about that. But from what I understand, it has the potential to be picked up by investors, bought, which would mean all of us would then get paid off of what we sell it for, and then they would be able to market it however they want to for DVD distribution and things like that, box set, whatever they choose to do with it. It could be also compiled into a full-length movie. It's written episodic, but it's also written to where there's not too many things that repeat, so we can take out the credits at the beginning and in the end and easily turn it into a film. We are going to be doing a showing here in Springfield of the first 3 episodes after we shoot them. Hopefully, we were talking about a few different locations, but
How long do you see each webisode lasting on running time?
we're looking at about 10 to 15 minutes per episode. I'm trying to keep them right at that. Originally, I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to have to keep them at 20 minutes and up, and that was just too much. But I was thinking 7 to 8 episodes. I can do it solidly in 5. So we're doing it in 5 episodes, and really the webisode thing has saved me from, in a feature film, you have an A plot, a B plot, a C plot, sometimes D and E plots, and they all intertwine. Well, doing this web series, I was able to kind of cut out the C, D, E, F plots, whatever, and just mainly focus on the A plot with a little bit of B plot just thrown in there, and they kind of go in tandem the whole time. And it's really made my story very straightforward and hard-hitting, and you don't have to wait too long to find, to have some pretty terrifying things happen. You don't have all this setup. It's new for me writing for, television in quotes, because it's not, it's the internet, but writing in that kind of serial
compression.
Yeah, that compression. It's exciting. It's exciting as a writer because I've not done it, but it's forcing me to think of the story in a different way, because when you're writing a feature film, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to try to stretch this out. It's got to be 90 minutes, or whatever. If you're doing a comedy, it can be somewhere between 60 and 90, but so you're trying to fluff it a little bit. You're trying to pad those pages and find things. This is, and the fact that I'm trying to keep the dialogue down to make it more action based and show exactly, not always have the character speaking. But that's been a very interesting, challenge in the script, is trying to write when you know that not everything that the actor is doing is going to be up on the screen, because it's going to go to title cards. So I try to keep the title cards to a minimum and show more than tell.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
well, I'm very excited about working on the project. I know Kevin is too. We've been talking about it a lot. So
it's gonna be exciting.
I'm looking forward to working on it. So I hope everybody who's listening to our episode will keep an eye out for ShadowBound. And before we leave, what made you come up with the title ShadowBound?
Well, that's actually twofold. There's a two-part meaning there. Originally, I had conceived a different horror film with that title, and I liked the title so much. When I was coming up with this, I'm like, this is perfect for this project, because first of all, it's shot in black and white, so there's a lot of shadows that are everywhere, and so that in itself made me pull the title over. But the lead character is bound for the shadows. That's where he's heading. That's where he's going. The whole story gets darker and darker and more disturbing as it goes on, but also he's trapped by the shadows. So he's bound, physically bound by the shadows too. And so it's got that kind of double meaning there.
Triple meaning.
A triple meaning, yeah, exactly. And Bryant is actually in it as well. He plays our creepy sanitarium doctor.
I've already started on what I think.
Heavy on the creepy?
No, it's creepy.
On the creepy.
What was it? Creepy and off-putting. Is actually
Creepy and off-putting. He had a great audition. But everybody, the auditions were fun for this, weren't they? Like,
they were great.
Oh man, we had a blast at them. George's audition was just amazing.
That was bizarre.
It was amazing. It was so much fun, because how often do you get to go to an audition and somebody just puts on ambient music and lets you play,
chew the scenery.
lets you chew the scenery. Yeah,
fun.
just
That
giving
was
people
fun.
those concepts, because I wanted to see what people brought with their imagination to it, because it's going to be a lot of that on set.
Yeah.
And we got the best of the best. I'm so pumped to work with all these people. Some people I've never worked with before, and then some people like yourself that I've worked with, my entire adult life practically. So it's a really exciting project that I can pour everything I have into right now. So it's nice.
Well, I thank you all for coming. It was a nice interview. I appreciate it very much. Some of you are going to be very sad because Tim's not here to give one of his little words of wisdom. So maybe I should be nice enough next month. I'll let him do two.
Why don't you do it, Kevin? What is your
what's
your
your
word of wisdom?
Can you give some word of wisdom?
Oh wow.
Don't eat lead.
Well, don't wear a dress in public or a movie.
What if you're a girl?
What if you're a girl?
No, that's right. George Cron's. For George Cron, that's where
Everybody wear muumuus. Let's change the world.
Let's change
Moo world.
one moo at a time, and that's more terrifying than anything Lovecraft ever wrote.
It's a new cult.
And with that, we'll say goodbye and thank you all very much. We'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Art Matters is brought to you by A Class Act Productions.